A lot has happened with Rritual Superfoods since we last had the opportunity to speak with their team. In order to get investors back up to speed with everything that is happening with this company, I like to bring on their new CEO, Warren Spence. Warren, welcome.
Thanks, Brandon. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and there's a lot that investors are curious about and a lot for you to be able to say about where your company is going. Now, before jumping into some of the more pressing questions that are on the minds of investors, I'd like to first start off this interview by asking you what caught your attention and brought you to being the new CEO of Rritual Superfoods.
Well, it's been quite the journey. I mean, honestly, I think we started, I want to say like 18 months ago. I was brought in when we first started talking about Rritual and starting the brand and stuff like that. And I've had a lot of experience in CPG. I've been doing retail now for, I guess it's 28 years now. It makes me feel old, but with 10 years with Red Bull, 6 with Hain Celestial, and 4 with Livieri Pasta. So I have food and beverage. My last job was 2 years in the alcohol beverage industry, so I understand the supply chain mostly and production and understand how retail works. And so they brought me on to, just to give them some guidance and where they want. And then when they decided to go public, they offered me to be a board member, and so I accepted. So I've obviously been a board member from inception, and as things came along and we saw where the summer was going, and when we started as board members, when we started getting into in September what was really going on, we just felt like we needed to make a change. And one of the other board members decided, Warren, would you like to take this position on? And I've gone into companies before where they've had problems and I go in to fix them. But in this case, because it's so close and dear to my heart, I obviously accepted right away and wanted to get the company going in the right direction in a more positive way.
Yeah, because I know, speaking about going in the right direction and getting it to a positive way, we absolutely will get to that throughout this interview. But, since the summer, investors have seen the share price decline over 75%. After being in your position for just over a month now, although obviously as a director for some time, but more so in the front seat of this company, what do you believe has led to this decline in share price, and what is the course of action being put into place right now to correct it?
Yeah, I think mostly, and I can't speak for all shareholders, but some have reached out to me. I think a lot of it has just trust. There were some big numbers being thrown around in the beginning by our previous management team, and there wasn't a lot of news coming out to support those numbers where they thought the company was going. And I think when I stepped into the position, the first thing I need to realize is where we are right now, what is realistic for the company moving forward, and making sure I hit those numbers to build that trust back from the shareholders so that we don't get in a situation where people are trying to sell off. I honestly believe that the company is going to do well. It's just going to be a slower process than previously announced.
Mm-hmm. And I know, speaking of previously announced, you also brought on Mr. McCauley as well. Can you speak to his pedigree within this business and within this sector, and how he's going to be integral for really helping to get Rritual to the next stage?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Greg. I'm quite open about this. I worked with Greg for 6 years with Red Bull when we launched Red Bull in Canada. He's probably one of the best at sales and understanding the distribution and retail market. And he, along with me, we've reviewed everything, gone through everything, talked to all our brokers. He's the top at where he is. He's one of the best at what he does, and he's going to bring the chains on, and he's going to make the chains that come on more profitable for the company, more turns, better distribution. As we increase our distribution across the U.S., that's when the revenue starts to kick in. But the hardest thing to explain to certain people, or not all people, understand how consumer packaged goods works, and it's not a quick process. You don't go into a buyer and go, "Hey, I got this amazing product. Here, I'm going to go out and buy it. And we're going to put it in your store right away." It's a long, drawn-out process where in the fall you present to all these large retail chains, and by January, February, they decide whether they're going to take you or not, and then they put you in the store in May and June, and then you start getting money on your revenue side by July, August of the following year. It's a slow process, and unfortunately, a lot of these things weren't thought through when the previous management decided that they were going to go ahead and launch, and they didn't. We had 2 retail chains, and I'm going to say that they're doing better than I thought they would, but we were never going to get to that point where they were throwing numbers around that were a little over exaggerated. Best way I could put it.
Yeah, and I'd like to focus on that a little bit more, because I know since the inception of this company, there were very aggressive and optimistic projections for the growth of Rritual. Clarus Securities reported that Rritual was expected to do 5.1 million in revenue in 2021, this year, and up to 21.2 million in revenue in 2022. Is your company still on pace for these projections?
Well, we're definitely not on pace for the 5.1. I can tell you that right now. We have the 2 retailers, and we're doing fairly well in our e-com side, especially with Amazon, which we launched our store in late August, and we're healthily promoting that, and we're seeing some good returns on that through October and beginning in November. We weren't going to get any other retailers. No fall resets were going to happen at the retail stores because of COVID, and right now we're looking at launches into other retail chains. Now we're into, like I said before, April, May of next year. That's when you're going to start to see the growth. But I think the other thing for shareholders to understand is mushroom adaptogens is a category that's still growing. And there's a lot of consumers out there that really don't understand what mushrooms do for them. They're amazing, right? They help you so well in health, and there's new studies coming out all the time the health benefits of mushrooms. So as I think consumers come on board and they understand mushroom adaptogens, then I think the category grows, and like companies like ourselves and our competitors, we all promote that. The category grows, and then our revenue grows at the same time. Right now, we just need to work on distribution, and that's what Greg's working on. And I'm supporting him to make sure that when the bubble pops and we start to grow at an exponential, the category, then I think you're going to see, if we're situated in all the stores where we need to be in, then that's when you're going to see the revenue go. And I'm not going to throw a number around there that I know I can't hit, but I'm also not going to be like, we're going to do 5 million, we're going to do 1 million next year, and we end up doing 5 million. I'm going to give you a realistic number to our shareholders when we plan it all out, because we understand we've done all this distribution modeling before, and we understand once you're in a store, it's a slow turn to begin with, and then it starts to increase. The growth starts to happen as consumers start to understand the brand, and they start to get those reoccurring sales through the retailers.
Yeah.
And I think as long as like I said before, as long as we're situated properly within those stores, we'll get that growth. And that's our modeling right now, is getting in those distribution points in all those stores that those consumers are going to buy our product.
Yeah, and I appreciate the honest answer there, and really going over that into detail. But I can imagine that shareholders may be shocked by that answer, and I'll go ahead and ask the follow-up question that I'm sure is on their minds right now. How are those projections created and subsequently become so far off from the current trajectory of sales today?
Well, I wasn't there when they were created, but from what I understand in conversations I had, the previous management thought they had the connections to get into more retailers than they ended up getting into. There was at least 3 or 4 other retailers they were throwing numbers around with with those projections that they were supposed to come on in July, and then it got bumped to September. And then honestly, once you're past July, if you're not in those stores, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you're, I guess I don't know. The most honest way to put this, when you put a number out there and you're not going to make it, I would prefer to come back and say, okay, we're just not going to make it. And they personally chose not to say anything.
Well, as many investors now know, there is new management at the helm of the company, new management that understands, like you were saying earlier, the fall resets, where if you don't get in by a certain amount of time, these really large retailers will not put out a new product until that following spring, hence the wording you're using there, by the spring resets. But in light of these projections being much farther away than originally forecasted, are there areas of Rritual's growth with current retailers that still show signs of excitement and promise that your team will be focusing on the most over the next coming weeks and months?
Yeah, so I mean, we're seeing some good reorders from CVS. I can say we got 12 POs, actually 13. I got another one this morning from CVS. So them reordering almost on a weekly basis is exciting for me, because it shows a growth. Even though it's a slower growth than previously announced, it's a growth, and you want to see that growth month on month. We have Amazon was a great decision to set up our own store there, and we're seeing growth month on month on Amazon, even since inception of our store in late August. So I mean, that's exciting. I'm excited over the next 6 weeks to announce at least 4 more. I can't tell you right now until, I'm going to be honest with the shareholders. Like, until I have the PO and I'm shipping the product, I'm happy to announce it, but I'm not going to be premature in announcing it to anybody, because I want to make sure I have that PO and we have the deal done. So, and then, working with our broker in the U.S., Crossmark, they have we'll call it a sister company that's on the natural food side. And I think, me and Greg have talked about this. It's definitely the direction to go into natural foods. Though that's where the consumers are going that understand mushroom adaptogens and are daily users of it. They're going into the Whole Foods, they're going into the Sprouts of the world and the smaller natural food chains. And we need to be in those stores. And so that's what our focus is right now until the spring resets. Is there's a lot of small, 10 to 20 store retail chains that are on the natural food side. That's what we're focusing on. We've met now with the sister company of Crossmark, and it looks like we're a go with that, to start moving forward with them in regards to looking after these smaller chains and getting in before the spring. That's his focus right now. And, my focus right now is to get our natural product number from Canada, Health Canada, because I'd love to sell it here in Canada. This is where I live. I'd love to go into the store and see my product in there. Well, I'll say it's our product because the shareholders own the company, right? So, and I think a lot of shareholders have said that to me too. They want to be able to go into those stores and touch it and feel it and see it. So that's our focus right now. I like to be in Q1 in the stores in Canada. We have a broker already lined up here. And then lastly, innovation. Excited about 2 new SKUs that we're going to bring on, and this is more catered to the mainstream consumer that doesn't understand mushroom adaptogens but wants to try it out. But if you ever tried mushroom adaptogens, they're not consumer friendly. Well, they are. They're good for you, but they can have some earthy taste to it, right? And these are more mainstream consumers, where it has a little bit of organic cane juice sugar in it, and it has or cane, not juice, but organic cane sugar in it, and it has some coconut milk powder in it. So you can add to your coffee in the morning, get the benefits of mushrooms, and it still tastes good. So
Yeah.
yeah, excited about all these things.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And it is true. I have the reishi and liamanes at my place right now, and the reishi goes really well with a tea, but the liamane, you said the right word, it's earthy at times. I don't mind that, but I can imagine if you can find ways of masking that, that would be important as well. But I appreciate you going more into detail because you did get that shareholder update to investors, and one of the main focal points you were talking about is getting into natural and specialty retailers, and especially Canada as well. So I appreciate those answers of understanding that those consumers know what they're looking for. So when you're showing them a superior product, you don't need to necessarily educate them on what those do for you. You just need to educate them on, hey, this is a brand you should be looking for. And then in Canada, a passion for yourself, but also investors as well. And then lastly, the things that you're going over that investors should be looking into over the next coming months, because that was a very long time, unfortunately, of that share price declining and coming down. But as we have alluded to in this interview, it is new management. You have, I wouldn't necessarily say a new direction, but potentially, because you're talking about different areas of main focus, but that these orders are continuing to rise. You are seeing growth that is there. It may not be in the, as fast as many investors were once told, but also want, of course, we always want things to go to the moon right away, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. But I appreciate your honesty in coming on here and talking about these things. I'm very excited to see where you continue to take Rritual. We have another month left in this year, but in 2022 and beyond as well. So Warren, thank you once again for your time, and looking forward to seeing what you do with this company over the next coming months.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. It was great being on, and love to do this anytime. Love to update everything with the shareholders.
Absolutely. Well, take care, and thank you very much.